3D sketching? Hell yes, it's really important. Ethan, I really love doing observational sketching. How about you?
Yeah, I also love to do observational sketching. So for those listen to this podcast, if you don't know what the observational sketching is, that you go to a city center, you just draw 3D sketchings, and you just maybe watercolor, or maybe just your pen and pencil. You just sketch whatever you do it. That's
I
also
wish I could
a
watercolor.
community. That's kind of community happening, and and also sometimes nowadays, like Procreates, and people do it on iPad Procreate, and they show their talents. Okay, I can do it on Procreate. This is the cityscape sketching, and also for me, I don't spend my money on iPad. iPad always outdated within a few years. So I use my sketchbook, and I sketch. And the watercolor is quite when I it's like a quite formal to sketch, because I need to go bring all the watercolor, bring water, all the all the paintbrush and the paint, which is very inconvenient. If I want to do sketch, just sit down, sketch by using pen or pencil and the paper. Sketchbook, that's better, and let's freehand it and copy the cityscape, or copy the shape of the drawings. It's also give it into my memory. Okay, this is how this famous architect has done. Some architects, their shapes are really simple but very striking, but it give me the idea of what my next concept is. So that's, and also not just that sketching. I also do sketching for not just city sketching. I also copy the sketchings of the sketchbook or the architectural magazine, etc. That's what I that's what I usually do. Sketching. I think 3D sketching is really important. And another thing is, when we talk about the students, things that I've never teach the students how to do 3D sketching. That is my yeah yeah. So far, I haven't teach anything for 3D sketching to the students. I sketch for the 3D perspective drawing. Yes, we taught the students, but not the 3D sketching. So that's the skills you know that's what I need to learn. If you were to teach this 3D sketching, how do you teach, and how do you work with it with the students? And yeah, can you tell me
I,
your
I,
experience?
well, I think 3D sketching, observational sketching is really important. I think it's fundamental to our means of communication, because once you learn to sketch observationally, you also develop the ability to sketch what you're thinking, not just what you're seeing out there. So it allows you then to communicate with the client in a three-dimensional sketch way. And it's also really quick. You can knock out a three-dimensional sketch in a couple of minutes. You want to do it in ArchiCAD or Revit, be prepared to put in a morning, and then you show it to the client. It's all hard edge, there's no loose bits to it. Whereas if you do three-dimensional sketching for the client, there's lots of looseness. Decisions haven't been made. And remember that the clients when we design a building for a client, particularly a domestic client, you're taking them on a journey, and each journey is a step in the process. Now, if you say to the client, okay, let me listen to you. I'll go away. I build a complete. I'll use ArchiCAD because I know this happened. So the architect does a complete three-dimensional model. All the textures are on there, all the lighting and shading. It takes him a week to do it. Goes to see the client, shows the client, and the client goes, "Whoa, that's too much. Oh, no, I've got cold feet now. I don't want to." Whereas if you sketch out, so if you remember, you're taking them on a journey. So you do a little sketch. Oh, what's happening here? Don't know. What would you like me to do there? We haven't resolved everything. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I love the form of the building. I think it'll fit in the landscape. Oh, what sort of materials? And so each time that you meet the client, that sketch gets a little bit more developed until you get to the point where you're confident to put in the computer. You've
Yeah,
taken
yeah.
the
That's also
client on a
save
journey.
time. Yeah.
I mean, this is actually, there's two cases I know with the same architect where similar things have happened, where the client has been unable to say, I need to resolve some of these areas because it's hard edge. It's resolved already. They think it's fixed. They think it's
Hmm.
already done. They don't think they can make any decisions. But you go
Hmm.
back to those quick sketches, and the client can see that there's looseness to it. You know, it's not hard
Yeah.
edge. It's loose. They can see where they can make changes. Um, so I think that, so I mean, that's a whole nother topic. We could talk about that because I've got
Yeah.
loads of
Yeah. Yeah.
examples.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
to develop the skills to help to show the client what you're thinking, you have to practice with observational sketching. That's
Hmm.
really important. It develops the skill of line, perspective, proportion, so that when you do a sketch for the client, it has that line, the form, the proportions, and the
Hmm.
perspective, and that really helps the client to see what you've got in mind. So
So
I
how do
think
you?
that,
Yeah. Yeah.
sorry.
Continue, please. Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
so
How?
I really think that sketching does improve your design.
Mhm. Yeah, I want to ask you is that how do you train your students for sketching, for 3D observation sketching?
Well, I
Do you
wish I had
do you
more
train
time.
them?
We don't have time to train them. So the best we
Oh,
can do
okay.
is to offer them that book by Betty Edwards, Drawing on the Artist Within, where she
Hmm.
covers, like, she covers proportion and perspective, and the old thing of, I don't know if you've ever seen artists, with a pencil and their thumb on it, and they're running their
Oh
thumb up and
yeah,
down the pencil.
Procreate or something like that.
Well,
Yeah.
they're measuring. So what they're doing is
Hmm.
they're getting proportion. So they're saying, well, that part of the building is 1.5 times that long, and so you
Like
can't
that.
see my hand, but it's a
Yeah,
measuring.
something like
Yeah.
that.
So they're measuring with the pencil. And the other thing I also do is to, you hold your pencil up and get the angle of the wall or the angle of the building, and then you can translate that to your piece of paper, and that gives the right
Yes.
line and the right perspective. Um, I was really fortunate that I went to university in Auckland, and we had every Wednesday afternoon sketching. They'd take us out the town, they'd sit us down, we'd do observational sketching. I had a really top class New Zealand artist as one of my
Hmm.
tutors. In fact, I had two of them as my tutors, Claudia and Pat Hanley, and they were wonderful. And Pat was really funny. He used to make fun of my drawings. When I left, when I didn't put any texture for the road, he'd want to know if it was snowing and stuff like that. Um, but I still remember those days, and I still remember what he used to say to me about capturing the big issues first, and don't worry about the
Hmm.
little details. And
Hmm.
you know, those skills, what are they? I don't want to tell you how old those skills are, but they're still with me if I practice. Now, if you
Yeah.
don't practice, what happens is you lose those skills. And so the first couple of sketches you do after not practicing for a while are really awful. And so you've got to keep up your practicing. I know a guy in America, Kevin, and he practices every day. And he showed me his book, and they're beautiful, just
Beautiful.
beautiful
Yeah.
sketches. And he just every day, like, he'll sketch his wife, he'll sketch this, he'll sketch some other thing. He carries it with him all the time. I've got a little tiny travel case of
Hmm.
watercolors, and
Yeah.
I've had it for years. I've had it for, probably 20 or 30 years. And it was great fun to take that with me and go sketching. And I'd be in England, and I just, do a little sketch, just a little rough watercolor. And the other one that's really good is they're water soluble crayons, the
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Caran-d'Ache.
that's
And so
that's
you
good.
can quickly put some of those in while you're in the field, and when you get
That.
back, then you can color them in, and turn them into
Yeah. Yeah.
watercolors,
It just.
and that works well.
Yeah. That's
I,
cool. That's cool.
it's a shame that we don't have 3 years to teach our students and have an ability to do
No.
observational sketching.
No. We're just limited of times to teach the students, so that's
I've
quite
I've
tough for
tried.
them.
I tried
Yeah.
doing it once a week. The students really didn't respond to it. They didn't think it was valuable. Um,
Hmm.
and the other problem is that students often sketch what they know is there, not what they see is there. So
Yeah.
you get them to sketch a block of wood, and they won't sketch exactly what they see. They'll sketch it, well, if I look down on top, then it looks like that. But that's not what they're looking. They're looking at it in perspective. And so all their sketches look
Hmm.
like, like kids that draw a house and they always draw four windows,
Yeah,
and a door in the
yeah,
middle. Even
yeah.
their house doesn't look at all like that, and they use the
Hmm.
shorthand. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think I really believe that we should have the time to teach sketching.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
I know that lots of people disagree with me that they would rather have more time to design or to draw with BIM.
Yep.
Um, but I guess I come from more of an architect as a leader
Yeah.
type background because I was trained as
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
architect. And so you're the leader of the design. So you need the observational sketching skills in order to
Yes.
pass on your thoughts to other people.
To the whole groups. Yeah, let's go back a little bit to the business case because I just want to share my experience of sketching. Because in Singapore, I remember I was running the design team for design and build projects. So we were building the train stations, and we need to present the design proposal to the client. So the client panel is the professor from University of Singapore, National University of Singapore, and etc. All the big guys are sitting in the panels, and at the time, was it the design was drawn in the SketchUp, the computer-aided software. Those who doesn't know, and the SketchUp image one after another, and at one point, the architect bring up the sketch and show it to everybody, and everybody say nothing can match the hand sketch. The hand sketch is the best, and it's also
Yeah.
it brings back the memory of, because those people sitting in the panels are 40, 50. So it brings them back the memory lane. Oh, they appreciate the sketch and say, yes, I remember the architect's name is Andrew, and Andrew, this is the best. And all the presentations, your A3 sketch is the best. Whatever on the slides, no, this is the one we want to see. Yeah, sketching, people still appreciates, and it is really good for. I believe it's really good for communicating with the people. Obviously, just for that kind of instance, and yeah, and in different ways. Yeah, for for
With
that kind of clients too. That's for lame newbies client. Yeah, that's
the
what I
architect
think.
I used to work for, James, he would always do a little simple 3D sketch. This is my idea. Okay, it was an early idea, but it was always that was the germ of the idea. That was, everything developed from that idea, and it was always a little black pen 3D sketch. Usually, the size of an orange would be the size of the sketch, just a tiny little sketch, but it usually had enough information to get you going. And from there, we could then start to develop the BIM model. We'd start thinking about the form of the building, what works, and then we get into the practicalities of, does the roof work? Should we slope it this way, that way? What about the height in relation to boundary, all that kind of stuff. But we always started with that that first 3D sketch. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
well, the other funny thing about observational sketching is that, and lots of people take photos. The challenge with photos is,
Nowadays.
you look at your phone, you got 26,000 photos in there. You can't remember when you took them. But you sit down for 20 minutes and sketch a building in Siena in the town square, and 30 years later you can still remember sitting there sketching that building, with the colors and the light and the warmth. I can still remember those, where I did every sketch. I got some when I was in Venice, and I look at them and
Hmm.
yeah, it takes me right back there. I was next to the Grand Canal. My wife was sunbathing. I was sketching. I was sketching these
Hmm.
buildings. It was, you can still remember those things. Whereas if I took a photo, did I
Done.
take? Yeah, maybe I took the. Maybe that's mine. Who knows? Um, Whereas a sketch, it's got my
In
style,
the memory lane. Yeah, in the
and the
memory
and the
lanes.
memory is there as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
I
you
think that's a
remember
big
your
thing that we miss.
proportion. Yeah, as you remember the proportions, how many you might not exactly know, but the proportion of the buildings, what style is that, etc. So which is really good. Yeah, sketching is really important. 3D sketching is really important for, again, is for the communications, and it has art value in it as well, right?
Yeah, some of them have got art value, but developing that observational sketch skill, because often when you're dealing when I'm working with an architect and he says, oh, I want some steps to come in down and do this. Well, if you sketch them, and then he can look at those sketches and go, oh no, maybe it
Yeah.
needs to do more like this and more like that. So you've saved yourself all that time on the computer. You do it all on the computer, and then he goes, oh no, that's not what I want. I know I need to
No.
rebuild it. So you throw it all away and you have another go, like a 10-minute sketch, as opposed
Yeah,
to a couple of
that's
hours of resolving a detail in the
yeah.
computer.
Yes, it happens a lot. It happens a lot
And
in my
that's why I
experience
think
as
it's so
well.
important.
Yeah. Okay. So shall we wrap
I
up?
think
Or
I think that's it. We both agree it's important. We both agree it helps. We just haven't got time to teach it. I really wish we did.
yes, that's good. Yeah, I also want to teach the 3D sketching. Maybe I try to introduce maybe one time or two times. Looks how the students responds, and yeah, let's see. That's it.
Cheers, cheers, Ethan. Great,
Cheers.
great
Yep.
chat.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Bye.